Hi.
Really, Milo? We're just going to start recording. Right now, that's what you're going to do?
Okay,
And you're going to throw it,
we
leave it on the
dropped it.
floor. Okay. Okay, carry on.
We're keeping that in.
Okay, yeah.
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Charlie.
And this is Milo.
Yeah, being a nuisance.
And welcome to Outsmarting the Shadows, where we help you survive horror movies.
That we do.
Oh my God.
Today we watched a great horror movie.
We watched a movie
From Argentina.
yes, it's called When Evil Lurks.
Cuando acecha la maldad.
So this movie, I'm just going to go right into, spoiler warning.
Spoilers, you probably haven't seen it. It's on Shudder. Shudder was one of the producers.
It just came out.
Shudder was one of the producers, and Shudder is a distributor. So if you have the membership, it's a membership site like Netflix, but for horror movies, Shudder, go watch it right now.
Right. Now, I'm going to tell you, I read a couple of articles about this movie.
Okay.
So I'm going to just tell you, so briefly, without giving away the articles themselves, some of the impressions that people have had of this movie. So, in October of 2023, this independent horror film from Argentina has stealthily dropped in theaters, seemingly out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Which is true. It's got a 98% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and the film has earned a reputation for being extremely brutal, with realistic gore, shocking violence, and a morbidity bleak story that feels like it's actually trying to hurt its audience.
And that it is.
And
yeah. Who wrote that?
So the person who wrote this article, you can read this full article on MovieWeb. The author, it was written yesterday by Taylor Klink, K-L-E-N-K. We're going to link this article down below in the description.
Yes. Oh, and it was, I think, the perfect description for this movie. You just said it a while ago while we were setting up. You said, okay, this movie, imagine Evil Dead, right? Mm-hmm. Evil Dead. You can, the original one, not the second one.
You love Evil Dead.
Or the new ones, you take all the comedy out of it. There's no comedy whatsoever, nothing. Take all the comedy out of it, and it's kind of like that.
Yes. This movie is truly what the article says. It is brutal. And when you picked this horror, because you picked it.
Yes.
All right?
Do you want to know why I picked this movie?
Yes.
The reason I picked this movie is because I saw the trailer without headphones, with no sound on, and there was a flock of goats, and then a little goat just walked up to a gun.
Oh my God.
I was like, yep, that's the movie for us. It has goats, and it has horror, and it has guns.
So, we obviously don't like it when animals get killed. Like, I hate it when dogs are murdered or anything. But anytime there's a goat on film at all, I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I don't know if this movie is good, but the trailer is cool. Let's just hop onto Shudder and watch this movie.
And if you don't know, Charlie and I have a dairy goat farm.
Yes.
So we're extremely familiar with goats.
Once you have goats and you know how they act,
right?
There is no way in any film that you can possibly film a goat to make it look evil. Right? Not even in Witch, where there was, what was the name of the goat in Witch? That it had a
Black Phillip?
Black Phillip, yeah. Not even Black Phillip from The Witch.
Black Phillip, I'm like, I want that goat. Epic. He looks cool.
Right? He looks epic. Not even Black Phillip looks
evil.
Evil.
He just looks like
he's hungry. He wants some hay. He wants some hay. He probably wants some milk if he was bottle fed. You know, a little bowl with some milk. Waxes a little tail.
Sweet little boy.
There's no way. And they try to do it really sinister, like zooming in on their eyes, and they're just rectangular eyes. Let's all calm down. A cat will murder you more than a goat would, ever.
And it's so interesting. Like, once you've owned goats, it's like somebody who's afraid of dogs, so they've never had a dog, versus someone who owns dogs.
Right.
And they're like, what do you mean?
Take a look at this goat. Is this goat evil?
No.
No, that goat is not evil.
That goat's not evil.
That goat is not evil at all. No. Anyway,
it could have a rumen problem because it's not chewing at the moment.
Right, but it's not evil.
It's not evil.
The only thing it's gonna do is just scream at you because it's hungry.
Yeah.
Because it just ate and an hour passed, and it doesn't have the same food because the food it got, it threw it all over the floor, and now it's dirty.
Right. Any goat food that's on the floor is peasant food.
It's peasant food. Yes.
And the goats are beneath that.
Yeah. I don't want that. Anyway, you just saw the film.
Yes.
You came back.
And now
what
you're
a film
changed.
It is.
You've been a changed human being. So this film was I want to say that it was too brutal for me, but
it didn't have a lot of gore. Almost no gore.
What he means by that is they don't show in the stark light of day a lot of what happens, but the story itself murders many children in brutal ways.
And when he starts just slapping this little girl, they made it.
He just punches this little girl.
Right? I was like, this looks really real.
Right?
He said, just slap her a little bit. Just a little bit.
Right? But no, he goes to town. He's like, I'm going to get in a fist fight with this girl. I'm going to beat her.
With this 9-year-old girl.
With this little girl. So there's an incident with a dog.
Oh, but even if that dog wasn't possessed, that is not a dog you keep around children. This was one of the baby munching kind dogs.
This dog was a giant, massive, strong bulldog. And it got possessed and immediately murdered a child.
Yeah, let's talk about the possessions in this film. Because the film started off, and not knowing anything about the film, they're like, okay, these are farmers. Okay. And then they hear some shots.
Oh, wait a minute. I want to talk about the beginning of it first, like the characters in the movie, just for a second. Okay. Because in the very beginning of this movie, it's not that it opens strong. It opens with such purpose where I feel like I am watching a grizzled farmer who has seen stuff in life and is ready.
This farmer has seen some shit.
They know how to act.
They know how to survive.
Right so they hear a guy shooting out beyond their field and say, of course, they're looking out their window, and I love that he's like, is that on our property? No, it's out in the woods. Poachers? No,
it wasn't poachers. Bang, bang, bang. Okay, there were 3 shots.
Then there was a pause.
Then there was 2. It was a revolver. So he wasn't shooting at animals.
Right. So and then
they're getting their guns
ready, and then they're like, we're gonna go out tomorrow.
And because you understand, they're getting their guns ready, and they got their guns ready before they stepped out of the house.
Right.
Yes.
They were just.
They prepared everything just to step out of the house.
They weren't scared. They weren't upset. They weren't urgent.
No.
They were just going.
Up to a certain point, they're doing everything right.
Right.
Yes.
Up to a certain point.
No survival tips. They are surviving.
Yes. Up to a certain point, I was like, all we're going to do is commend these characters the entire time in the podcast.
Yes. They do everything right. So morning comes.
Yeah. Well, I also have to say, when they go to the morning, when they're in the morning, when they go and they find the guy who was shooting.
Yeah. So in the morning, after you saw, or if you haven't seen, so they walk the field and then they walk to their property line, and they cross the property line. It's right close to their property line. They see a guy that has been sawed in half.
Yes.
Right? Sawed in half. They see a hand somewhere. The legs with all the guts hanging out.
Yes. It's a man who's been sawed in half.
Right? And they are the calmest people you can imagine, who just saw a man sawed in half with no upper part. Just a hand and then the legs. And they're like, I don't know. Who is it? Is it the neighbor? No, it's not the neighbor.
Yeah. And then they start going, do you think Ruiz could have done this?
Yeah, you think?
And they're like, I don't know. It's not really his. It's not his thing.
Right?
Like,
and
why would he do this?
looking around. Then they find
all of his stuff.
They find all his stuff, and they find this cool chest.
Oh my God! They find a cool thing, and it's filled with like a mechanical object that clearly is meant to be assembled.
Right.
That's like.
And then he's like, "I've seen this before.
I've seen this before somewhere." And then they find a file.
With
odd language, and then they see a driver's license picture of one of their other neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Marie Louis or
yes.
Louis
Maria something.
Maria something, and so they're like, okay, and then they find a map where the guy was going to visit her house.
Yes, that he was murdered beforehand.
Yes, he was murdered beforehand. So the thing that I find interesting about this, don't judge me for this, viewers. All right?
/listeners.
/listeners. We are farmers. I've probably done the bulk of the farm.
Well, I ain't no farmer.
Here.
I just pet the animals and just edit videos.
Right, and you provide support in all ways.
Yes. I know nothing about farming.
Right, but I have experienced some really horrific things just in farms. You have predator attacks.
You have predators. Animals sometimes just die in your hands while they're screaming in pain.
Animals who are born, deformities. You have vet calls. You have all kinds of things. C-sections. It's very graphic. You see a little bit of everything.
Well, she does. I don't look.
Right, you don't look at all. I've sewed things up. There's a lot of things that have happened.
Right. It's interesting that I love the gore in horror films.
Yes, and I can't.
But I can't even help a duck that has been munched by a bobcat. I have to look away.
Right,
when you're going to sew it. When you're going to sew it.
And I'm just like, I'm okay if we're healing. If we're healing something, I feel great. If we're trying to help. But if something is being injured, I can't. Mm-hmm. So anyway, what I'm saying is the mentality of you find something that's already dead, a person that's already dead, and you're investigating because it seemed like a requirement. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I found someone half mutilated in my yard, I would call the police.
They did not do that.
No, but because they live in a situation where,
Yeah, we see a little bit later.
And that understood.
On the police.
I would personally call the police, but I would also be like, huh.
Interesting.
Well,
this just happened.
This is going to be a cleanup.
Let's go to the neighbor because she was clearly in this little document that he had with a weird language, which I presume was demon language. I
think they said it looked like Russian. So what we learn later, of course, and you guys know this, is the entire world has been experiencing possessions for quite some time, for many, many years.
And no church can explain it,
No church can help. The church idea is dead.
Yeah, and churches they mean nothing.
And there are specific people called cleaners.
Not churches, religion.
That is run by an organization called the Ministry.
The Ministry, yes.
And the Ministry sends out cleaners to help with possession, and that's the only thing that can help it.
Yeah, and the cleaners are people where the demons can't
control
them. They can't take a hold of their mind.
Right. Now, knowing all of that, it's understandable that they'd be like, well, we haven't had possessions here in a long time, so I don't really recognize it, but maybe I learned it in school from when I was a kid.
Listen, having lived through COVID, it is completely possible that nobody would believe it. Right? Even when it's right there in front of you.
Right? You're like, there's evidence right here. I don't know.
Listen, there's this person that was run over. They have a hole with their brain falling out, yet they're talking to you and eating their children. That's Exhibit A. I mean, that looks like it could be a demon possession.
Right, okay.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't believe that.
So because of the way that they treat this, before I even knew anything, and right from the beginning, I went against my entire thesis for how to survive horror movies. And I said, I'm going to make an exception. These people are allowed to investigate.
Yes.
Because normally it's like, that's not your business. You go back, you live your life. It's not important. However, their mentality is just so serious.
And they don't lose their shit.
Right.
Up until they get to the lady's house and they see the
little boy is taken. And that's like
not the little boy.
Of the way.
He lost his shit when he saw the morbidly obese possessed one.
Yes, he started to get... So they investigate. They go to this lady's house. They find that her son is called a possessed.
A possessed.
Which is so interesting. So this reminded me so much of Slither.
A slither?
Yes.
Really?
Well, in terms of the life cycle of a demon, it's like it possesses someone who then becomes a physically swollen, tick-like, infectious carrier of other demon possessions.
Yeah, and then they have to wait. The demon has to wait for the host to die or be killed.
Yes.
But he wants it to be quicker, so that's why he's telling people,
he wants everybody
to kill the host.
And once he's killed, then the actual demon can appear. But until he's killed, he still infects people with his essence.
With the essence, right?
It was the most interesting concept and way that possession worked in a movie that I think we've ever seen.
Yeah. At one point, I was like, is this cosmic horror? No one's getting out of this. Everyone's going to die.
See, the reason why I don't think it's cosmic horror is because it's been going on in the world for at least 10 years.
Yes.
And
so much so where whole towns have a
protocol
if this happens.
Yes. But because of that, obviously, humanity they created a ministry. They've sort of moved on. Some people don't even believe it.
Yeah.
Some people, when it starts to happen, they're like, oh, that couldn't happen.
Yeah,
here.
Like the cops. After they saw the
they go to these stupid police officers.
And they're like, what did you see? You didn't see nothing.
Have you ever even seen one? You don't even know what you're seeing.
Listen, we just call people and, it's out of our hands. We don't care.
Now, I did not understand why another farmer, his name is Ruiz, his wife is pregnant. He's clearly very well off.
Yes, he's a lot better well off than they are.
Maybe he's the mayor.
No, he's not the mayor because they said, did you call the mayor? Yeah, they just pushed it.
Okay.
Pushed it aside. He wasn't the mayor.
I didn't really understand why he suddenly got so upset and wanted...
probably knew because he knew what he didn't. So one of the ways, like the lady, there's a little later on in the movie, you meet one of the
Maritza?
The lady that was also one of the fighters, the ones that
Maritza.
What were they called themselves?
The cleaners.
The cleaners. So I'm
gonna get her name.
We meet one of these cleaner ladies, and she says that one of the things you do to survive is you just leave. You leave everything behind.
Literally,
you take
everything.
Nothing. You don't even take the clothes on your back. You just leave everything.
Basically, you get naked, you get in your car, and you drive away, and you never come back.
And as you can see, as you told, this guy was really well off. He had a house. He had a really good looked like a dairy farm because he had
a bunch of goats.
He had goats. He had cows.
I think they were meat goats.
And he had cows. And his house looked nice. He just had a wife who was pregnant to have his kid. He's not going to leave all that behind to go where? It looks like wherever you go on planet Earth is just business as usual.
Yeah, it's just another location. So then you got to start from scratch. You have no money. You have nothing.
Yeah, you got nothing. So he wasn't good. He was freaking out. Listen, we need this thing gone.
It would be wildly inconvenient. So it was weird that... So then... And he makes this bold decision that he's like, well, we're just going to take him. Come on, buddy.
Milo, come. You got your toy. Okay.
And we're going to move him.
Right? And they were like, don't touch him.
Right.
Oh, and in this movie, his attire is all practical, but they use the classic gunk. You know, the slime.
The slime.
Classic slime.
Oh, the slime is everywhere.
This one, this time is green, like it's pus from his mouth.
Don't talk about it. I can't. Let me say that word. Yeah. So, it was so awful. So they somehow managed to lift him. So that scene, this is so bad.
And before that, he has his gun and he's gonna kill him. But nobody wants him to get shot. You don't know why. It's like you can't shoot him because if you shoot him, then it'll come. Then shit will hit the fan. It's
interesting to me that all the modern things in life are really the things that the demon is able to latch onto.
No electricity. You can't have electricity.
Gunpowder, electric lights.
Yeah.
It's like stuff, all kinds of stuff. It really likes anything that you really like.
Yeah.
So they decide to move this creature, and at this point,
this is the first mistake I would say.
Well, of course.
Because by this point, he thought, okay, maybe we should just leave, and then that other guy coerced them into taking the body.
Yeah, and
basically bullied them.
Yes, Ruiz bullied them, Pedro and Remy.
Yeah.
Yes, his name is Jamie. So, at that point, I think you should have gone off to try and find a cleaner specifically. Mm. I think you need a cleaner, or I don't know why, if they know that there's this whole system in place for getting rid of the possessed, why does every single child not know all 7 rules no matter what? Mm. Why does everybody not know, here's how the cleaner's process works?
Maybe a lot of people just don't believe.
Maybe it's been so long that society's kind of normalized itself a little bit.
I mean, his wife didn't believe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And so anyway, I think the mistake was made when they encountered all of the cleaner's supplies and they didn't take everything with them. Mm. I think that should have been.
They didn't know how to use it.
No, I know, but it's better than what they did.
Yeah, because they could have been cleaners. Because what the lady says, we cleaners, or the people that fight them are people that can't get easily possessed, or they can't take over their mind. Him and his brother, they never got took over, and they had all the opportunity to get taken over.
Yeah. I mean, they were touching that body, moving it just as much as Ruiz was, and Ruiz and his wife, it was infected.
Yeah, but their gut got it first.
Yeah,
and you could see immediately once. So here's where we see the scene with the goats, like all these nice goats, which I found it funny. They did nothing.
They didn't do anything to make the goats scary.
Yeah, they just recorded goats.
They just recorded,
zoomed in on their face,
and then they just had
this goat.
Just stand there.
Just stand there and walk up like they do, press a little head against something, against a little barrel. And then they zoom in on the eyes, like, oh, look at this evil goat. Listen, this goat wants hay. That's all this goat wants.
She kept begging him, please, please, don't shoot it, don't shoot it. So Ruiz is there, he's got the gun. His wife is behind him. She's super pregnant. And she says, please don't shoot it. And of course, he shoots it right in the head.
Right.
And it
immediately,
dies.
not even 10 seconds.
Not even 10 seconds later.
Immediately, she gets an axe and hacks his face. And at this point, because you don't know what's happening.
Hacks his head and kills him.
Yeah, just like that. Just right in the head with an axe. And at this point, since you don't know what's happening, I'm like, okay, maybe whatever it was.
Upset.
Yeah, she's upset and will jump onto him, and she's, kind of
trying to save herself.
Stop it and save her children. But no, because immediately after that, she just axes her own face.
She takes the axe and...
Milo.
Sweetie, it is a very loud.
Come here. Just stop.
This is a podcast.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. We'll just pet you for a little bit. Don't. Oh,
you're okay.
Just stay right
Sorry,
here.
the dog had a toy. We had to pause for a second. We're petting the dog. And for those who can't see.
Yes. Maybe we'll edit that out. Maybe not.
We won't.
Anyway,
so the way that they shot this, I think the reason why this is such a graphic, horrific movie is because of how calm and quiet the violence is.
Yes.
It's not an intense, I'm axing my face and then I'm dead. It is it's not easy to put an axe through your own face, so you got to do it multiple times.
Yeah. And even you said, oh my God, they really killed the goat. I was like, they didn't really kill a goat.
It looked like they really killed the goat. I was very upset.
Oh, that was VFX at its finest. They didn't really kill a goat. There was a lot of rotoscoping in those scenes.
I'm gonna look up the budget of this movie because if this movie was less than $1 million, they killed that goat, I'm gonna be upset.
They did not kill that goat. I mean, if it was a meat goat, but I highly doubt that they killed that goat. It was VFX. Anyway,
I'm looking up the budget for this movie. So I need you to keep talking while I look up the budget, because the next thing that happens in this is that basically the demon starts to take over a lot of different things.
Yeah, because they put the demon in the truck, and then the truck swerved, but you can clearly tell that this demon didn't fall out of the truck. It can walk. It can move around. Because it moved from, it just escaped from wherever they were going to dump him.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting that, like, there's a line in the movie that says, evil loves children, and children love evil.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that they say that, like, because it kind of makes sense. Like, kids are so prone to just no consequences.
Yeah.
You know?
And doing little kid stuff.
Yeah. So, like, it makes sense that they would have, just their little paws and stuff. So...
little grubby hands everywhere.
Well, no, I mean, it's not, like, bad. They're just being kids,
Spreading disease.
No. It's not what I mean.
Spreading the flu, spreading COVID, with the little grubby hands, touching everything.
Spreading the demon.
Yeah, that's why you don't want little kids to touch you. They're going to spread their disease.
That's not what I meant.
I don't know. What do you think, viewer? I think that's what you meant.
So this movie doesn't actually list
it doesn't.
A budget. It only lists that the box office for this is a piddly $527,018. Yeah, after that, they decide, okay, we have to leave.
Yes.
Which they make a really good decision here. They're just going to cut and run. They get in their trucks and...
Yeah, at this point we're like, Jesus, these people are doing all the right choices.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're deciding to go, but they're going to pick up their family first.
Yes, he's like, get in the truck, let's just leave, let's go pick up the family, and we are gone.
I have to admit, if they'd followed my rules, everyone would have lived.
What rule?
The 7-minute rule, of which is you don't go back for family.
Well, technically,
he brought
yes, because
that demon to his children.
He brought it to him because it's so weird how this demon works, because it leeches onto everything, onto things. Like it was on the clothes. It was like a bacteria, because it was airborne, because all the dog did was sniff it.
Yeah, but remember, it could have been on that fluid, and then the fluid, so it doesn't mean it's airborne. That means it's like literally a substance.
Yeah, but the dog didn't touch it.
You don't know if the substance had gotten on his clothes when he was moving the creature, and then he took off his clothes, and then the dog sniffed his clothes. Suddenly, the substance is on the dog.
Yeah,
and it's like not only just on the dog, but like in him, because he's sniffing it in really.
Giant dog. The moment I saw this giant dog, I was like, "Oh, something's wrong is going to happen with this dog."
I thought the movie was going to go one of two ways. Either the dog was going to become some sort of weird champion of the movie, and the dog was going to start to murder all the bad people.
That is not what happened.
Or the dog was going to do what it ended up doing, which was...
And you did it... This scene, I did not expect that. I did not expect them to film this scene how it was filmed.
At this point, one of the other brilliant things about this film is there's a backstory for Pedro, where he has an ex-wife. He left his family a while ago. At one point, he didn't want him and his children to live. His wife now has a restraining order. Like, they go through this, but they don't do exposition.
Right.
They just tell great stories.
They just
through like slowly
little bits
crumbs
and pieces for you to put it together.
For you to figure out, which is a beautiful way of giving a backstory. It's I think storytelling at its finest. But even another layer of that, in the midst of this, right? He shows up to his ex-wife's house. He just gets naked and asks for new clothes.
Just get naked, get me new clothes. We're gonna burn this clothes.
Right.
But before he burns the clothes, the dog went and sniffed the whole clothes.
So throughout this whole interaction, obviously his ex-wife is angry. She's got a new family. She's got a new husband. She's got a new daughter. He has 2 children from his previous marriage, or Pedro does, his kids. You are seeing that the dog is doing this, but nobody in the entire movie sees it.
Right after he smells it, you can tell.
You can tell.
They filmed this brilliantly, where you can tell the dog changed.
The dog changes.
The way they filmed it, the dog is like, looking around, like
the dog
waiting.
is like figuring out, how am I going to really mess everything up?
You're gonna mess all these people up.
So they're having this argument. The kids are now up.
Yeah, because he wants to get all the kids and just leave. Listen, get in the car.
Everybody get in the car. We gotta get out.
She's like, and this lady, she acted her heart out.
Oh my God, what an amazing
she was like, this was perfect. And she was just, you get out of here.
And she had a perfect reasoning too. She was like,
no, you abandoned us for 4 years.
And now you're trying to get back in with us. And now I have a restraining order. Like, you're lying. Like, I understood her perspective so much.
Yes. And while this is happening, the little girl is just standing next to the dog.
Right? Doing nothing.
Her older brother is on the stairs looking at them.
Just watching.
No, he was walking down.
He's walking down the stairs. And again, the violence in this movie, it is... I swear to God, my heart skipped a beat because it was so quiet.
And it's surreal.
And nobody in... The thing that hurt me... This really did hurt me. When the dog attacks this little girl.
Yeah, he just grabs her. And they don't...
Silently. No one knows.
Yeah, they don't
No one even sees it.
Only the little kid.
Only the little kid. And obviously in horror movies, nobody listens to the little kids.
And the thing is, how they filmed it is they don't cut away. They don't suggest it. They show you the dog going like, "Yup, I just got you and I'm going to take you away."
But then what they show is the reaction from the little boy.
The little boy, yeah.
They show his shocked face, which This movie, the only other movie that has shocked me and horrified me this much because of this exact way that they filmed it was Hereditary.
Yes.
Hereditary did the same exact thing.
Yeah, it does. It has that Hereditary vibe.
Yeah, which is something horrific is happening. The only reason why you know it is because they gave you the beginning of it, and then they're showing you the reaction of the other person.
Yes.
And the fact that then there's a whole room of adults that can't see it is so much more terrifying.
But then they take it a little step further, because you see the kid slowly inching down under the table, and
you think, oh my God.
And you think, okay, they're not going to show anything. But no, they zoom in, and the dog has this, and then he starts waggling her like it's a little doll.
Right.
And then he starts screaming, and then they figure it out, and then everybody just goes crazy.
Right. It was just, I mean, even talking about it right now.
Yeah, it's a rough.
It is a brutal, horrific thing, and I'm so the nature of horror in this, it goes beyond survival. It goes I remember
how would you survive this? You can't survive this. What are the rules? Oh, but there are rules. We'll get to that.
It was just so, I don't know, maybe looking at it as an adult, I'm watching a child, and I can't even like understand survival because I'm so horrified.
Yeah.
I was so horrified, and it was, you know what, I'm going to go back to something a little bit funnier because I'm getting very emotional about this.
Yes.
Like, so while they were moving this really disgusting prosthetic of this guy in the body, I had made the decision that we were going to eat sandwiches.
Right? Yes. Not only sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Really gooey sandwiches.
The goo and slop looks just like the pus, goo and slop coming out of his mouth.
And so, because I was really hungry and I didn't know that this was coming, how would I know? And it was like the very next scene, like as we were watching. And
every time he talked, it just fell out of his mouth. The green pus
so
goo.
Awful.
It was just gross.
And it was. I had to look away because, and I was simultaneously extremely hungry and watching. So I was like, I'm gonna just not watch for a second and eat my sandwich, and then I would chew, I would swallow it, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch again. Oh, that was a terrible idea. I'm gonna go back to eating my sandwich.
Right. So going back to the scene, since he wanted to leave, the door was open. The kid is screaming. They realize what's happening, so the dog just carries the little girl away and just walks off into the streets.
Runs away.
And so her dad, which is Leo,
So Pedro is our main character.
Yes.
Her ex-wife is Sabrina.
Yeah, and she's married.
She's married to a man named Leo, and together they have a daughter. And the daughter is the one who's being carried off by the dog.
So he grabs a gun. Oh, let's find the dog so we can,
Leo,
get it. And he's like, listen, do not shoot this dog.
And you know what's so funny? This is everything happens so quickly. It's almost like no one believes him that it's a possession. And
even to a certain point, not even his brother.
Yeah, not even his brother, because
his brother's not there.
His brother went off to find get his mother. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that what happens with Pedro in this scene is, in my opinion, one of the most horrific pieces of the entire movie.
Yes.
So they run off and then of course he shoots the dog. Leo shoots the dog and he becomes possessed.
Yeah, but he doesn't know none of this is happening, so he runs to get his son, which up to this point you don't know.
Up to this point you think, okay, he's got a son.
Yes, that is sleeping.
That is
to this
sleeping.
Point, you think he's just
and
sleeping.
He's also got a younger son.
Yes.
That's what you think. He goes upstairs while his ex-wife is freaking out because her daughter has been carried off by a dog.
Yes.
And you realize he has a teenage son who has severe autism.
Yes. To the point where only probably him and his wife can communicate. His close family are the only ones that can communicate with him.
This child needs a lot of attention.
Yes. Even how hard it was, I remember you could see that he knew how to communicate with him because he was talking to him like, I've done this before. You just need to tell me, where are the car keys?
Right. He knows how he's not getting upset with him. You know how people who aren't accustomed to interact with someone with autism, they don't know what does this person need. Yeah. But he did. He knew what his son needed.
And he knew how to get the answer. Even though you can see he's just, I need this now.
I need the keys. Yeah. And it adds an entire new layer of human complexity to this story.
How are they going to get out of this with the hardship of just having an autistic child
with them.
Try to keep it safe.
And now, here's another brilliant piece of this movie. So, we're going to talk about... we have to keep going, because I'm going to talk about that in a second. I'm sorry. So then, the little girl shows up.
Right. The little girl shows up.
She shows up, and she's
hugging her mom. She's fine. At this time, he's already in the car with both his children. And then I found this interesting that the little girl she was so happy. The little girl is fine.
The mother is so excited.
She's hugging her. And then
she doesn't know where Leo is, though.
And she says, Leo is going to run you over with the car.
Yes.
She's like, happy.
Right?
And she's like, what? What did you say?
What? And she's so happy that her daughter is back that she doesn't even note it. And then, 5 seconds later...
Right? She gets run over with the car.
Leo kills his wife because he's also possessed, and that entire family is done.
Yeah, so, and he just drives... He knew that... He saw what happened to the little girl, so he just, that is not the little girl. Yeah, that is not little girl. I'm just leaving with my children.
So... So at this point, us as the audience, we know Pedro has his 2 sons with him, and he's going. Yes. And we've just witnessed horror at its finest.
Horror. It's true horror.
It is truly horrific. So then, the brilliant thing about this movie, this horrible thing that just happened, everybody's traumatized for life. Mm-hmm. It cuts to Jamie, his brother, getting their mom.
Right.
And she's like, where are we going? She's just a normal Sunday.
What are we doing? Why are you so sad? Are we going to a funeral? Did someone die? I don't want to go to a funeral.
And she's like, why are you driving Sabrina's car? She's just...
Is she okay with this? Because she probably knows what's happening.
She's just talking about, domestic, custody issues.
Yes.
She's just chatting away and stuff. And she doesn't know what's going on. And then they're in the car, and they're like, just get her in the car,
Just get her in the car.
Just get in. And then she starts talking to the little boy, and she starts to tell us, the audience, what the heck is going on.
It's happening, right? What is going on?
Yes.
Because at one point, when he gets upset, when he first saw the possessed, the lady, the possessed mom starts praying. And he just gets really upset.
Really angry.
Churches don't...
The church is dead.
The church is dead. But the way they word it is okay, this is probably a godless heathen. He doesn't believe in churches, so he's just talking about it.
But what it means, what we actually know it means, is that the church is literally useless.
Yeah, no religion is useless.
No religion is useful.
It's useful because the old lady says, okay, possessed are a thing. There are 7 rules. She didn't have the correct 7th rule, but she says there are 7 rules.
Sweetie, that is very loud. It is a toy that makes noise, and people listen to podcasts, okay? Little cute dog? No.
Okay. There's where he's going to stay.
Okay.
Come on. And you're not going to get it.
You're not going to get that toy right now.
Okay.
Got my sweater. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So, Milo is fine, by the way, for people who are listening. I took his toy, and then his foot got caught in my sweater, and it was a whole thing. You got to watch the YouTube video.
Yes, go on YouTube.
Go on YouTube. All right.
Finding the Shadows, select YouTube.com.
Yes. Plug.
Yes, shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Okay, so she starts to describe the 7 rules, and she says, rule number 1, you do not use electric lights.
Yes, because they start moving shadows in ways that they should not be moving.
Yes.
Yes.
Rule number 2.
Dos.
You do not hang out around animals.
Yes. No animals, which they're already in a disadvantage having a farm.
Yes.
Right?
Rule number 3.
Tres.
You don't hurt it.
You can't shoot it. Kill it.
No, she also said you don't hurt it.
Oh, you don't hurt it.
You don't hurt it is number 3.
Yeah.
You don't shoot it is number 4.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't shoot it.
The next rule is when you flee, you don't take anything that was close to them.
Oh, yes. That's why they say you should just leave everything behind.
Yes. And then the sixth rule is you never utter their name.
Right. So you can't utter demons' names.
Yes. And this lady starts to just, because there's so many names. Michael, Lucifer, Aziraphale, and
yes,
you're like, what
Beelzebub,
the heck? And
Paimon.
Right? She just starts like
and then
saying
the kid's
names.
Like, but you're saying the names.
She's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. So
and then their autistic child, which repeats
Aziraphale.
Yeah, starts to repeat a demon's name.
A demon's name over and over again.
You're like, God darn it.
Yeah. So, and then there is a seventh rule that we learn later. And the seventh rule is...
But she told them a different seventh rule. What was the seventh rule?
No, she didn't tell... No? She only told them 6.
Oh, okay.
Because they said, you only told us 6. Like, oh, yeah, well... Now, the seventh one is, you cannot be afraid to die.
Yes. You can't be afraid because they latch on to the fear. Which is a brilliant way to depict these demon possessions.
Yes. In this movie... The best way to survive is to go up against what we've learned in previous possession movies. Don't use their name against them.
Nope.
Don't be afraid to die.
Yep.
And if you're going to run, you can't run with anything.
Right. You got to leave everything behind.
Leave everything behind.
That includes family. That's the 7-minute rule.
It is the 7-minute rule. I mean, but it's the 7-minute rule to the extreme. You know, I mean, ultimately, you're naked in a truck driving down the road.
Yeah. I find it interesting that, okay, so, they got the 7-minute rule, so they stay in this lady's house. You don't know the backstory of the lady. All you know is that she was, she battled or she lived among the possessed, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But then the possessed mom got there at night. And, stuff happened. She takes her younger son and she flees with him. But what I found interesting, how they depict of a demon taking possession of an autistic person.
Yes, so that was interesting. So the lady, she knows that the child is possessed from the very first moment she sees him.
Yes.
And they say, no, he's autistic.
That's just how he is.
That's just how he is. And she says, no, I know he's autistic. I've seen it in an autistic person before.
Yeah, and so even the demons have trouble
possessing them because at first they just latch onto their hands and their feet. But then it starts to figure out how their system works.
Yeah, and how their mind works. They can't figure out, the imbalance in chemistry and all that type of stuff that happens with autistic people. But she says over time it will figure it out.
It will figure it out. And over time it
does. Yeah. At one point, so they leave one of them leaves, she leaves with Pedro to find the possessed,
to destroy it using her cleansing machine.
That's when we have more exposition of what actually happened.
Yes.
In the world.
Then Jamie goes after Pedro's younger son, who was taken by Sabrina, who is obviously a demon.
Which at this point he doesn't really believe.
He doesn't. Yeah, he hasn't really seen enough.
He hasn't seen. He didn't see the lights like his brother did. He didn't. All he saw was a big, fat, rotting person.
Yes.
That's all he's seen.
Now, I feel that Pedro and Jamie, the two brothers who are amazing farmers and really have good mentality and are smart, I think that they lose track of how to survive when Pedro's son is taken.
Yes.
Because it's just suddenly they're so frantic.
Yes.
And
that's when they started to go downhill.
Yeah, they started to make mistakes. So let's go through Jamie's story. So Jamie's following the lady. Mm-hmm. Like that we took his toy, so we brought another toy. Come here, buddy.
Come with your new toy.
You got a new one. He just got another one.
Took his toy, and he just brought a different one that also squeaks.
So this one is a squeaker. Toy. This is a squeaker from a toy that he ripped apart.
Right,
and that's why it looks like this. It's so awful.
And we took it away.
So we took it away.
And he brought this one.
He brought this new one.
If you're listening, we're showing his toy, and he's like, oh, he's laser focused on the toy, see? Haha. And this one goes like this. Here's your toy, buddy. Here's your toy.
So
anyway, so
Jamie is following Sabrina, who was clearly dead, but whatever. He tracks her down. He's following her in a car, and she's walking. Oh my God, this is so horrific.
Yes.
He finds her.
And she is scooping the brains out of the kid's skull and just munching on it and eating it. It's really dark. You don't really see it, but you see enough.
It is enough. It is clear, like, this child is dead and it has been eaten alive.
Yes.
It is absolutely horrible. And this sight clearly is so disturbing to him.
That he finally realizes that this is wild. This is happening.
But he's still driven by emotion.
Yes, he is.
And he makes a very poor survival decision.
Yes.
And he decides to run this demon-possessed lady over with a car, and he crashes the car.
And he pins her to a tree.
Thus removing his vehicle
out of the equation. See, this is why I say that he and his brother, they could have both been cleaners, because they don't get possessed.
Right.
And he heard it. He hurt the creature.
He's hurt the creature, yeah.
Yeah, and he's right there, but they don't possess him.
Yeah, they don't possess him, which is really interesting. So, the next thing that happens is where we follow Pedro's story with the lady. They go to a little schoolhouse, which is the last place that they think that the possessed might be. And there are all of these children just sitting still in a classroom covered in white powder.
Right.
And we realize the white powder is lime.
Yeah.
Now,
lye.
So the powder is inconsequential right now, but the children try to convince them, you gotta leave.
Yeah, it's someplace else.
The possessed isn't here. And then they realize it's underneath this stage where all of these adults are. It's so interesting. So Pedro pulls out of this hole he creates in the stage a woman that he says is still alive. And they're all covered in lye, to prevent the smell. They find the possessed.
Yes.
And when they find him, Pedro, I don't know why he's freaking out so much. Because the lady has a plan. She's building her machine.
Yeah, she built her machine. Her machine was ready to go.
It was ready to go.
I need to look at his head.
I need to look at the nape of his neck. This needs to go into the nape of his neck, and we're good.
We're good.
It's
done.
It's done.
We saved everybody, or as much as you can save. Probably all these kids are dead.
And I don't know, why did Pedro even go in? Pedro's not listening to her.
Yeah, because they he's listening to the possessed ghoul. The
possessed children.
Yeah, the children were, one of them, the one that he beat, these children that he just beat.
Yeah.
Well, the children was,
punched her in the face.
And this child was acting like a normal child. If you beat a child, it's going to cry. This child was crying like it was being beaten.
Yeah.
And then the child was like, no, you need to get the axe. The axe is over there. The axe is over there.
Yeah, you have to get the axe.
And she was like, don't listen to them. They're not children anymore.
Right. They're not trying to help you.
Trying to help you. Don't leave me alone. I am not strong enough to deal with this anymore. So she also, in the drive here, she does some more exposition that she and her husband...
They were cleaners for a long time.
But before they were cleaners, they belonged to a church. They didn't say what denomination church, but they were grifters.
Yes.
They used to, probably a prosperity church, or one of those churches that do healings. And she says that she, not that prosperity do this, but pretty sure that they do.
She used to grift people with religion.
Yeah. She would hire people to do like they were sick or
as
something.
As though they were possessed.
Yeah, and they would heal them. And she was like, oh, we thought this was all fake.
Yes.
Because, we used to do this. Until a demon, a possessed one, started vomiting all the family members that he ate all over us. That's when she realized.
That's what she says. And that's when
real.
She realizes it's real, and she becomes a cleaner because she realizes that they can't control her or her husband.
And this is when they say religion, they had no help.
It has no effect.
Yeah, it has no effect. Only these people suddenly knew how to combat them.
Yeah.
With these tools.
She said, one day my husband didn't come home, and I realized I just am done. I can't do it anymore. So
she followed one of the rules. She just left everything behind.
She left everything behind.
And went to the boonies.
Yeah. And she doesn't have any electricity.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any animals. She doesn't have any friends. She just lives her life.
Alone.
Yeah. And, of course, these people brought terror to her door.
Yes, they did.
So he stops listening to her. He decides to go grab an axe for some reason.
They brought terror to her door, but she has her composure.
She does. At no point is she scared.
She's freaked or scared. In fact, she tells him, listen, You do this. You don't run. You do it quietly. You do it quick.
Right.
This is what we need to do to help to make this, go away.
Yeah.
And he doesn't listen.
He doesn't listen to any. We were really upset.
Yeah, I was really upset.
I was like, God dang it, guys. Like, the rule, like, as in a society that's had possessions for at least 10 years, y'all should be a little bit more knowledgeable and calm than you are.
Yes. Yes.
Like, it was really, I was upset at that.
Again, I think that it's because they lived in such a backwater town that they'd never seen it. Yeah, that's never going to come here.
Apparently, it was more prevalent in cities.
In cities. That makes sense where there's a lot more people.
So, he goes to grab this axe.
And they killed her.
And meanwhile, they murder her and destroy the machine.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, he's so upset that he takes a piece of the machine.
Oh yeah, because I think this is the only part that could conceivably be funny. Thinking back on it, you see his little head, the little fat head,
demon possessed
head just popping out like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing over there, buddy?"
But then he beats him to death.
He kills him the wrong way.
The wrong way.
With the tool, but not how it's supposed to kill it. And then you don't see it, but kind of like a child demon thing.
A child demon reveals itself, puts a little mark on his forehead.
Like that, like his 3 fingers with all that red, nasty blood.
And
I thought the movie was going to end right there. That's a great ending for the movie. But
really? No, I didn't think it was. This movie, there's so many things on top.
This movie wants you to suffer. The viewer.
So, they, Pedro goes back to the house to get his son.
Which, a little earlier, you see that his son all of a sudden walks into the house, speaking fluently, talking to the grandmother, make me some tea, make me some coffee, because, I don't want to catch a cold. And she's like shivering because she knows. She knows.
He's possessed. So later on, he meets back up with his brother, who's clearly traumatized. And we don't see the mother. Yeah. But then
And they never acknowledge what happened to her or anything.
No, they do.
Yeah, but beforehand, they get to the house.
Oh, yeah, no. So we don't see her at all.
Yeah.
So then they take the son and the 2 brothers go back to their original house. And he's like giving his son some ice cream. And his son starts coughing up blood and hair. And his grandmother's necklace.
With a lot of blood. And then he looks at him like, he moves his eyes in a way that he never moves his eyes before like that.
And he knows...
That is not my child.
That's not my child, and he's eaten my mother.
Right. Oh, and before this, he takes a shower, and everything, all the blood that he had, all the gunk, comes off except
for the mark on his forehead.
On his forehead from the demon.
And we have this interesting theory that what if the people who bring them into the world, who bring them into life, like because he killed the possessed, they won't be touched.
Right? Like that was the mark. Okay, this is the person that, thanks to him, I am here.
Yeah.
So he is marked.
Yeah.
And they don't get, that's even wilder.
I like that idea. I think that would be interesting.
And then he goes outside and he just screams. He kneels. Yeah. You hear one scream, and then brilliantly you hear audio, and then you just see him scream.
Yeah.
Fade to black. Movie ends. You're just left with this movie with the sense and the feeling of existential dread.
It is truly awful.
There is no happiness. There is no funny. There is no comedy at all. That's the perfect definition of this movie is take a horror comedy like The Evil Dead and the concept of how demons work in Evil Dead. Take all the comedy out and all the joy that you can have from these movies and just do a movie about that.
Yes. If you want to be totally disturbed and really horrified and shocked, this is the movie for you.
Yes. Because my world doesn't work. Well, it does in the case. You can't be afraid, but you can't get angry because you can't hurt
it,
them.
And you can't shoot it.
You can't shoot it, you can't hurt it, you can't kill it.
Right. The only way through this movie is
to follow knowledge and follow the established rules of the lore in the universe.
So
which are the 7 rules, and I would become a cleaner.
I know. Yeah, well, the thing that I think you would have to do, because I believe if you followed the rules of this movie, the 7 rules, you wouldn't, and you learned how to be a cleaner, you wouldn't have to have that special power in order to be a cleaner.
Okay.
So I'm going to modify the 7-minute rule for this movie. The 7-minute rule says you don't leave any family, you don't let any family know that you're leaving, you just kind of, unless you can, but you just leave.
Okay.
I'm going to say in this universe, you and your family, you need to have at least 2 to 3 locations where you can go across the United States and say, if I encounter a possessed thing, I'm just going to leave it. So if I disappear, you will meet me at that other location.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you're not going to bring anything with you. Like, we'll be done. Like, we'll have to leave because we've encountered a possessed.
Yeah, but if they get possessed themselves, they will know that information and they could appear.
Well, they could, but the point is not...
Well, the point is that they follow you if you're afraid of losing stuff.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, I don't think...
You have to not give a damn. Not be afraid of losing anything.
You can't be afraid of death or loss.
Yeah.
So, it's... They already established the rules of survival in this movie.
In this movie, yeah. They did.
But the great thing about this movie...
And the lady, up to this point, she followed all the rules. They just pulled her in again. And she was like, listen, I'm too old to do this. Yeah. I need your help. And he did not do his part.
Yeah. They already established the rules of this movie on how to survive. The issue is the rules are very difficult to follow.
Yes, they're not easy.
They're not easy rules. So I like that if you follow these rules and then you also learn to be a cleaner, you can encounter all the demons you want.
Yeah. Just clean them.
Just clean them.
But not the essence, because all we see that are possessed are about the essence. You need to see the root, the one that is actively being rotting away. That is the source where the demon is going to come from.
Yes.
The demon is going to be born from.
And I'm curious, I would love to see a movie about what happens after the demon is born. Is there another level of cleaners? They're like, okay, so the demon is born.
It would be fascinating if they did a sequel to this movie and follow this universe.
I imagine, it would be interesting is if they're like, okay, now the protocol is clearly none of the original protocols worked. So now we bomb the town and we track down the demon.
It's going to be hard to follow this movie and make a horror movie from it. I think at best it would be an action movie.
Why?
Because how are you going to... The thing about this movie is you not knowing, you already know, you figured it out. The next thing is, let's say we follow the main character, the main guy. Mm-hmm. He's already lost everything. At this point, he doesn't give a damn about anything.
You can't follow Pedro anymore.
You're not going to follow. He's not going to be afraid of losing anything. He already lost everything.
All of his children.
He has the mark. Yeah. So what are you gonna do? It has to be a quasi action movie where he's just preparing or just following them.
Well, see, I don't think that Pedro is in the sequel.
Kind of like what happens with Alien and Aliens. Aliens is an action movie. Alien is a horror movie.
It's true, but I don't think that you should follow Pedro. I think you should follow the demon.
Or a different story. So this movie, as I understand it, is set in Argentina.
Yeah.
Just make a sequel somewhere else. You're listening to it right here. I guarantee you there's going to be a remake of this movie for the U.S. market.
Yeah.
They are going to remake it in English. And I would prefer that they don't remake it. They do a sequel in English, just in a different location.
They just they do the entire world just as it is, but in the U.S.
A different story. The same story, but a different story with different characters.
Yeah. What are the protocols in the U.S.?
Yes. They've done it with a lot of horror movies where they're either from made in Spain or Latin America, and for some reason or that other thriller that's called Abre los Ojos. Then the U.S. they made Vanilla Skies from that movie. There's a lot of movies. I think with this movie that's going to be done. It's going to probably be remade for the U.S. audience.
This could be an amazing franchise, actually. Yeah, because there's so much here. There's so much.
There's
story.
A lot of story to be told that you as a viewer, at least, I want to know about it.
I want to know about the ministry.
I want to know the ministry.
Who's the ministry?
I want to know who makes the tools.
Yes.
Who makes these tools? Where did they come from?
I mean, he said it looked like Russian. Are they in Russia?
Yeah, that wasn't Russian. That wasn't Russian. That was a weird demonic language or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
how did you guys survive this wild ride of a movie?
Did you follow the 7 rules? Like, did you come up with rules of your own?
Yeah.
We would love to hear. Like, please comment on our YouTube channel below, or you can contact us at our email address, which is in the description from the podcast if you're listening. And thank you so much. Yeah. Please recommend other movies to us. If you have, remember, we're doing one movie every day for the month of October, all leading up to Halloween and October 31st.
Yes.
We might dress up.
You heard it here first. That's news to me. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But thank you so much for joining us. Remember to be vigilant, be brave, and be the last one standing.
Always.